appreciate that. And so we say good morning to you, and we thank God for each and every one of you. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm telling you, every day above ground is a good day. That's what my grandmother used to say. But anyway, it's good morning to you, and we thank God for each and every one of you. As always, we want you to know we're very grateful to you for watching WHPR. People don't have to be nice. When they are, at least you can do is say thank you. And certainly we want to say thank you, and we thank God for each and every one of you, not only for just the network itself, but also this program that we call Hello Detroit. We've been doing this for a number of years, and certainly we hope that indeed that something is said, something is said, and certain that that's of value. And so we just want you to know we're very grateful and we're very thankful for you to be with us on this Saturday morning. It's going to be kind of chilly today, you know. It's kind of chilly. The high today is about 44. Right now we're talking about about 40, about 24, 25 degrees. And really no snow, no rain, or anything like in the forecast for the next couple of days, as far as that's concerned. But it is chilly, so you want to wrap up and take care of yourself. And again, it is that time of the year. And so not only we're talking about the high today is 44, and right now it's about 25, 26 degrees on both sides of the street. On Sunday, we were talking about 43 degrees on tomorrow, and then on Monday about 50 degrees on Monday. We're just taking one day at a time, and just want you to know how grateful we are and how thankful we are of just of you being with us on today. Really got an interesting program that we have for you today, and that we want to talk about. And of course, there are about 800 marches that's going on around the country from the East Coast to the West Coast, and about 500,000 people will be in Washington today, and they will be there, and young people in particular. Marching, talking about enough is enough in regards to the violence in our schools. And I really think that we ought to have some conversation this morning about the violence. And really, when it comes down, and maybe I'm missing this, but obviously we have violence in our community, that kind of thing, but very seldom do we have where someone in the urban schools, that basically walks in and where you have 10, 15, 17 children shot by a student. And we, as I said, we have violence in our neighborhood, but in terms of shootings, so the whole thing, of course, is maybe, just maybe, they need to understand that in the suburban community, they need to be like how we do it in the urban community. So let's talk about that this morning. And of course, you see what's going on in this country. You know that indeed, when you're talking about guns, not very much is going to happen. At least that's my point of view, and I'd like to see what you have to say about it as well. But again, I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, that this whole idea, the Second Amendment, and the whole thing in regards to really the guns, and it's no way in the world people are going to take guns from the people that have them and want them. And of course, I understand that you got more people that are registered now in terms of going and getting guns, and also registered to be trained to use those guns. And of course, they're talking about equipping teachers in classrooms and that kind of a thing, rather than really putting security in terms of entering the school, and perhaps also having a security guard in the school. But again, I'm just saying to you, and I know. And of course, we can, at least from my standpoint, I don't see anything really changing. You can march all day. You can have it today, tomorrow, and the next day. And it's good that young people are really taking an initiative and trying to make a statement. And what you really have to appreciate that. But at the same time, you kind of know, at least you feel like that not much is going to happen when it comes down to these guns. In this, and of course, as I said before, that it's a lot of them, in this country. And I'm sure that I don't have the statistics, but I'm sure that America is really leading the whole world when it comes down to guns and the sales of guns and owning guns and that kind of a thing. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about this morning as well. The other thing I wanted to mention, of course, a couple of things that's taking place today. This should be very interesting for all of us, and that is where the Tigers used to play down on Michigan and Trumbull. They're having a dedication of the new stadium for Powell. Powell is something that's been in this community from a number of of years, and working with young people, our students and youth in terms of police athletic league and building character with sports. But they opened up a brand new facility right there where the Tigers used to play, and they're talking about a $20 million stadium. But it's not just a stadium; it's also a headquarters for Powell. And so they opened that up this morning, I think about 10 o'clock. And so again, you want to like to know what about that and what's going on. And then of course we are just a few days away from couple of weeks away from open day with baseball. And of course, I guess that's supposed to say spring is in the air, or spring is here, because like I said today, we were talking about 25 degrees right now on both sides of the street, and the high today about 44. Once again, we go thank you so much for being with us on this Saturday morning. We were kind of rushing this morning, trying to get on the air on time, and of course, sometimes you got it all to plan and everything, and you stop by the McDonald's and get your coffee, and then you pull out, and then it just takes, it's always something. But anyway, we're able to get on the air, and I'm just kind of rushing a little bit and trying to get myself together. It's about 14 minutes after the hour. Once again, we say good morning to you, and we thank God. Caller, you're there. How are you?
Good morning. Before I go to my swim gym and sign up to relieve myself of this world's drama, I wanted to add to your announcements, if I could, about the Plymouth church. Well, it's New Providence Church.
Yes.
And they're giving away food and clothing, jewelry, shoes, baby products and shoes. Everything is free. It starts at 9 a.m. at 18211 Plymouth, and that's New Providence Baptist Church.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And I thank you for
Okay.
I thank you for it very much. It's a big, beautiful church there in Plymouth and Southfield, and certainly you can't miss it. You really can't miss it, and we thank you for that. Anytime you're trying to help people, I appreciate you calling in and seeing something that might be even helpful to others. They're giving away food, and they also have clothing. And so if you know somebody that really, really wants both, either one, you certainly want to be there at that beautiful church. And I'm having a sort of like a blank in terms of the name of it, but it's right there on Plymouth and the Southfield Freeway, and you can't miss it. And it'll come to me in a minute. So once again, we say good morning to you. We thank God for each and every one of you. Another black man was killed this week, a few days ago. Evidently, there was a call by the police, and when they got there, there was a person in the backyard of this house. And basically, they, as I understand it, they asked the man to basically raise his hand and show his hands, and of course he showed his hands, and then and he was shot multiple times there. And of course, what he had in his hand was not a gun, but a telephone. And so again, another it's just really sad, that someone basically and it's just, you just like to think this stuff is over. You like to think there's somehow some kind of way that by now police officers really get it. You know, I mean, you give some warning shot, especially when you just don't know when it's nighttime. There's no lights out there in the back, and but somehow that the young man didn't have a gun, but he had a phone, and when he raised his hands, evidently the phone showed with his hand, and they thought it was a gun. And of course, even if you have a gun, I would like to think if the gun is pointing at you, then the police officer would feel like perhaps his life is being threatened. But again, then drop the gun. If you think it's a gun, then drop it. But rather than, but I wasn't there. I'm just telling what's being reported. But again, my sisters and brothers, that as young blacks are still a target, and it's just really sad. It's just really sad. We can go down through the years, and I'm sure there are other that's going on that you don't even know anything about. But certainly, I'm just saying to you, it's another black man, basically that's been killed, and of course, as I said before, we'll find out more about it. But there was a big march, and the march demonstration, and of course, the demonstrations turned into violence as well. And so you're really trying to talk about violence, then you end up being violent, and of course, it begins to have a counter, sort of like it's almost like a counterbalance to what you're trying to do, and promoting nonviolence, and then you end up, and of course, when you have a crowd like that, you really have no control. You really don't have a lot of control. There were times when, when Dr. King would have his those movements and have again trying to organize people, but somehow, some kind of way, those days, we all seem to be on the same, on the same page. If those who really were like the Stokely Carmichael and people like that, Rap Brown and all, they believe in what they believe in terms of violence, but they did not mingle with the nonviolence, and of course the nonviolence did not mingle with those who felt like, again, like Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael and others who felt to be violent. But in this day and time, it's just different, and people are really angry, and it's you don't really, you understand it, you don't particularly like what takes place, but you kind of understand it, and that is you just get sick and tired of black men being killed by police officers. And so again, just thought I'd just bring that up to you as well. And it's just this whole thing about violence, this whole thing about devaluing life, and that we about 2 or 3 years ago we got this recording from Mr. Farrakhan, and I just feel like it's a beautiful production. There are some who, when I played it a couple of years ago, called in and said they felt like it was very critical. But I think, my sister, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a professional of this and a professional of that, but I do know quality when I see it. And the message is there. And of course, it's the whole thing about how this country really devalues life. And when you talk about these young people now that's going to marching in Washington and having a rally about guns, you got about, as I understand, about 800 different various young people across the country that will today be in sync with those that's in Washington. There is some people downtown in Detroit that basically also will be marching. You remember about a week ago, that young people came out of the class and marched and recognizing the kids, the 17 kids that were killed in Florida, again, so you really they bring their consciousness of what's going on in this country, and it is indeed, as Minister Farrakhan has indicated in this piece, and that is how we really devalue life, and I just feel that I just feel I need to just really play it, and I need to let you see this once again, and understand, my sisters and brothers, that somehow, some kind of way, whether you don't like the messenger, but the message is very important. I just happen to like the messenger and the message. But I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, and it's getting worse. And so you see what's going on, and I said before, where basically, whether it is in this hate and prejudice and all of this stuff that we basically are facing in this day and time, whether it is if it indeed results in death or not, the point is that somehow, some kind of way, we got to understand that we all came in different boats, but we're in the same boat now, and that's the thing that we got to understand. And so I want to really play this piece once again, and I haven't done it in a while. But I think based on what's going on in Washington, what's going on around this country, downtown Detroit, in terms of protesting about violence in schools and talking about the guns that basically the laws need to be changed. And these young people, these are young people who basically are raising the conscience of America, raising the conscience of those in Washington who really basically have left Washington to make so that when the young people do come, they won't be there when they get there. But nevertheless, they still will be there downtown and around this country. And they're talking about basically what Minister Farrakhan is saying in a more realistic and certain of substance of talking about how this country really devalues life. Just listen to this if you don't mind.
All of the nations of the earth as we speak are angry. They're angry because governments cannot suffice the needs of their people. They're angry because a few have gotten wealthy at the expense of the many, and the poor and the sick and the weak and the unlearned multiply. And the value of their lives are diminished by the rich and the powerful, so that when human life is devalued, that in the eyes of man you are unworthy of the gift of life, then it is easy for another human being to take the life of another human being that he or she has devalued. Black life in America is devalued. Hispanic life is devalued. Even poor white life is devalued. There's a way that I have to behave. I'm free, but I'm not free to rob you of yours. I'm not free to take from you what does not belong to me. So if I will construct my life according to these righteous principles, then between man and man, man and woman, peace. Between race and race, peace. Between rich and poor, peace. We have our beautiful Mexican family. This once was theirs. So you can't say to them they are aliens. That's a horrible word to use for former owners. I see my indigenous family here. Many tribes, but they're really one great nation of people that now must be reunited with themselves. So it's their time now, as well as ours, that God would intervene in our affairs and bring the bottom rail to the top. The government is not rehabilitating soldiers. When they send you away to kill. When you come home, they gotta reconstitute you for civilian life again. Make sure you have a job so you can take care of your family, but they're not doing it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, a woman can do anything that a man does. And the only thing he forbids the woman to do is the thing that degrades her. So how high can you go? High as you want to. Why would God allow the female to wear his attributes if you can't be a manifestation of that attribute? Women, you got to be set free. What God has put within you must be cultivated, must be developed, and must be used for the advancement of a nation and a world. I said to myself, Mr. President, why the hell don't you go to the wicked police department? Why the hell don't you stand up and tell them that your killing of black youth and brown youth is not gonna hold no more? Why don't you stand up? God's world is in need of a truth that will set up a government where everybody can live in peace under real freedom, real justice, and real equality.
Here, and we thank God for each and every one of you. And again, somehow, some kind of way, my sisters and brothers, I just wish that that this peace here can be seen all over the country, and really all over the world. To me, it really says everything. It just really says everything. I mean, when you see what's going on in Washington, it's amazing to me that you got these people that we call the dreamers, and DACA, and these people have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and of course they just passed a budget, a tremendous budget, in the trillions, and the DACA people were not involved in it. The dreamers was not involved in it, and you just and of course. We're not involved in it because it's all about the Army, it's all about the Navy, it's all about defense, and so it's what about this infrastructure that the president was talking about at one time? So we're not in this. We're not in this, And so again, you come back and where you're talking about I remember the president was talking about the swamp. He's going up to Washington to clean out the swamp and that kind of a thing. And of course, he's the biggest alligator in the swamp. And I'm just saying to you is that somehow, some kind of way, we got to understand what's going on in this world. And so you got this time or last time we had this march by this group. And a few weeks ago, 3 months ago, this group was marching, and now you got another group that's marching. But the point is, my sisters and brothers, if we could all get together, if we all could get together and understand everybody that he's talking about in this piece of justice or us or else, that's somehow some kind of way that to me, then we all in this thing together, all of our issues, and so you again, you go through all these motions, and I've seen it down through the years. We go through all these emotions, and we got plenty of those, but little substance comes out of it. Anyway, 33 minutes after the hour. Taller, thank you for patience. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing pretty fair.
Good.
Yeah, I've been looking at the shootings too. I heard that clip you just, as though the killing is a mental process. That seems like that's what I hear Farrakhan saying. He kind of touched on a little bit about the government and its policies and the rich, but he didn't go into it. And I think he missed the boat. There is the killing there in this country. It springs from the economy, not the policy alone. It springs from the policy that you can take the white men killing in this country. Well, the white adults, I'm not talking about the school killing, those are basically come from the insecurity of the economic system. When you're insecure and you've had white skin privilege of a permanent job, now majority of the people are hired. When Obama was in, 25 million, they're part-time. And I went over there and looked at on the Beltway. Most of those workers are working for the military complex industry. Those people are contract workers. They're just basically, they say, okay, we got a contract for 6 months. And then those people are thrown out. And it was a black guy was over there one time. He was a newsman. And they threw him out of his job. And they laughed about he had the old car and stuff. He ended up shooting the TV woman who was on live TV giving an interview. That is insecurity. When I see the killings in the city, in Detroit, Chicago, across this country, I see also the same conditions. I see they moved out all the major manufacturing out of those cities long ago. They ain't with the ones now. Those manufacturers left since 2000. Those was in the suburbs. But in the cities, they left, start leaving in 63. And Chicago, everywhere. You see that. Then you see something else. You see immigrants is the major retailer. And they got their own workforce. And so in the own black neighborhoods across this country, the blacks don't have jobs in their own neighborhood because immigrants, and they came from government policy. And now I see, when I look at Chicago for 3 straight years, lost population, mostly black. And the same thing in Pittsburgh, same thing in Philadelphia, same thing in New York, in Harlem, the same thing in Washington, Detroit. So it seems that also we are facing a form of genocide when you cleanse a city of a certain race of people. And now they are desperate. They're desperate for basic necessities. That's why I see black killings in the city. It's comes from the policies in the on blacks in the city. The last thing, what I see in the whites, I see mostly white, affluent, suburban neighborhoods. They're looking at a future, and I've looked at some of those kids. They went to college. The other guy, the one that had the bomb, and he left college. He couldn't stay in college. He seen himself, possibly his future, going to McDonald's, and that to him was, they called them losers in the white community. You're a loser. Then he started bumming. Then you see the white kids. They are isolated in the when you ride in the suburb. They don't have sidewalks. They ain't like me, and you can walk and say, "Hey, how Miss Johnson?" Go to the store. Know our neighbors. They can live right next to each other, but they don't know each other. But the children and the parents are going across from Southwest Detroit to Warren and Sterling Heights to get a job, and on their job. And when they get home, they're tired in that traffic jam. So the kids, they got everything, got the computer, and they up there got the computer and run across Manson. Oh, man, he'll call his buddy. Oh, that's cool. Did you see? Yes. And then they go, and whenever they're bullied or whatever happened to them at school, because it's antisocial, the living condition, and you see mass shooting at these schools. That's because of the system and that says we're going to move everything out of the cities. The blacks are coming to the cities, and let them stay in the cities with the unemployment and crime, because they're going to do crime and they ain't got no jobs. And those what you're seeing right now is because of the system and the policy. There was a combination of them. And that's what I see. And I don't think it's just devalued in the mind. It's a mind process. No, it's not a mind process. It comes from the system.
Gotcha.
So that's what and I see the police shooting. You know what I seen, Rev Holley? I seen Martin Luther King Jr. and the people of Alabama. I seen them go and stop those sport arenas so they couldn't get in. That's the whole. If you don't have that aim in marching, if you don't have the aim to hurt their pockets, the rich people's pockets, if you hurt their pockets, they will stop the little old wild cops from shooting. But we must, and they did it, and they gonna shoot some Sharpton or somebody like, oh, that's violent, that's violent, that's violent. No, shut them ball games down. That's what we should do here, and demand what we want. Not sit back and let the mayor and the governor, and I'm on the last, you know what I'm on, I guess, $900-something a month. Every year, the state will cut off my Medicare Part B. They don't let me send a notice to me, say, you got to reapply. And they took $402. They gave me $134 back. That's why you have the budget being balanced, because they are sitting on poor blacks in Detroit, balanced the whole budget for the state. They took my Fifth Amendment right to give me a notice, and they end up taking $268. Some people like me don't understand it. They get a gun and just start shooting.
Gotcha. Okay,
so
thank you, man.
From the system.
All right, thank you, my friend. Caller, thank you for your patience. Sorry this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Reverend Holley.
Yes, how are you?
I was wondering, were you aware that on March 31st, the the Healthy Michigan program will be cutting people off if they haven't seen the doctor in 1 year?
Say it again.
The Healthy Michigan program, it's like Medicaid. It's called Healthy Michigan.
Yeah.
They said everyone that's on that will be cut off March 31st if they haven't been to the doctor in a year. You have to have an annual checkup, but they haven't been telling the people this.
Okay. Let me check that out for you as well. Okay.
So we got less than a week before we're cut off.
Okay. Let me get on it right away. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you. Let me just go and get on that right away. If somebody knows more about it, in terms of what the young man is talking about. I'd like to hear from you on that as well. It's about 19 minutes to the hour. 868-0342, 868-0351, and 868-336 are the numbers, and of course the area is still the area code is 313. Once again, we say good morning to you, and we thank God for you. And of course, we were talking to Tyrone a few minutes ago in regards to this piece that Minister Farrakhan has in terms of justice or else, and of course talking about how basically devaluing life, whether it's black, brown, poor whites, women, Native Americans, for the most part, that somehow, some kind of way, that's what Ms. Farrakhan is indicating, is that somehow the government has really devalued the life of many of these people that I've just mentioned here. And of course, basically, he talked also in regards to the fact that people are wealthy at the expense of the poor, the powerful and the wealth, and the rich and the powerful at the expense of the poor. And you and I know, we know very much that is true. But also, I'm just want to also, in terms of what Tyrone was saying earlier, in terms of the system, in terms of really trying to shut things down, whether it is football, basketball, or hockey, whatever, are shutting down the freeway, is, I think, is what the people were doing, with protesting in regards to this young man that was killed by a police officer, and then end up at the basketball stadium. And then, of course, when they start interviewing people, they interviewed a lot of blacks who were there to be in the basket, to go into the basketball, and of course, then you had the blacks turning on blacks, and of course they felt like because they're paying their money, they'll have a right to see the game. And so you have this, where, and news media has a way of dividing us, that's for sure. But you do understand that the reason why the protest, you do understand that you get tired of the same old, where basically you police officer killing African American men, and you do. But also on the other hand, I'm just as tired also of us killing each other, and somehow, some kind of way, we just we don't put that on the table, on the menu, with the other things that we're really protesting about, and I just think that that is so unfair. It's amazing to me. Then urban, whether you're in Detroit or Chicago or Baltimore or New Orleans, is that we can have 200 to 300 homicides in a city at the end of the year, but everything just goes on like we just understand that's just what happens over there. That's what happens on the south side. That's what happens on the east side. That's what happens in this particular area, that particular area. But we're going to go on and just ignore it. And that's what bothers me. And really what really bothers me is that we ignore all these other things. I mean, I was, and I'm going to tell you something, my sisters and brothers. There are a lot of African Americans doing well in this city. They don't want you to know, because they don't want to give nothing, back. Many of them. I'll see how I can put this together, because I don't want you to feel that I'm. But this is what I'm trying to say. I saw a business, and I'm not going to tell you what business it was, but this African American person, had about 80 employees, 80 employees in this particular business. Now, I do know that perhaps The business was it was not what can I say? It was not just construction, or it was not something that normally we may do in terms of, but this was a very high technical piece, this was a black guy, and he owned just really doing well. They gave me a tour of the place, and it was, he has 2 floors, and people working, and so I looked at 40 on this floor and 40 on that floor, and none of them black. This is a black guy that owns a very wealthy place, firm, and I just could not believe, out of the 80, not the secretary was white, the receptionist was black, but I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I was trying to do everything I can to be respectful and just really get out of there. But I'm just saying to you is that we have that kind of thing going on too. Where basically I think we're part of our own genocide. That somehow, some kind of way, my sisters and brothers, you got a whole lot of stuff that's going on here, that we basically ignore it because we want to try to have a blame game from somebody else, Tyrone. And I'm just saying to you is that I remember talking. I was trying to get people to be hired at when the arena was built downtown, Little Caesars Arena, and so the guy just told me he was basically in management there, and he was basically he was doing the hiring, and so I was trying to get how many people did you need, and I wanted to see if I could get African Americans. And so he actually said this. He says, Reverend, if you bring people here based upon on the qualifications of what we're looking, if we built this arena, you wouldn't want to come here, and nobody would want to come here and sit in this arena if you're going to bring me people that basically that are not qualified to do these jobs. And obviously, I wouldn't, but don't tell me that we don't have people here that's qualified, that's not qualified to do it. But to say something like that, and again, that's the reason why people like Dan Gilbert they pay the fine. They don't want to. In other words, rather than search and try to get African Americans and try to get Detroiters, try to get people involved in in this stadium or any other construction that's going on. And obviously we know that we short of this and we short of that. We obviously, but we'll never be able unless you don't give them an opportunity, that you don't give them a chance. You always will. In this day and time, in 2018, we're still talking stuff that we talked about in 2006 and 2005. We're still talking that yang, that basically we can't find African Americans to do this and can't find African Americans to do that. This particular firm, you can't tell me, my sisters and brothers, that you can't go to Wayne State or Wayne County Community College and find people that basically they can be interested in doing this particular business that you have, and you out of 80 people you can't find one African American. I toured Bedrock, and they got so many buildings downtown, but I went to, I think it was 2 of them, and there were some few African Americans that sprinkled through the place, But when you get and you see the people that got these desks, and they don't have cubicles anymore. Not everything is open now. Everything is open, so you can see from one end of the wall to the other, because everything is open, and you see basically, my sisters and brothers, for the most part, that we're absent, that we're really absent. Yes, I understand that people coming to Detroit, people are coming in and they talk about jobs, but I'm telling you, again, that somehow, some kind of way, when you out there looking and you experiencing this situation, you come to realize, indeed, many of these people are companies are bringing their own people in, and so they don't really want to train us, don't really want to give us an opportunity to do the various things that I'm telling you that this company could do, and have African Americans to do. And this is the thing that I'm telling you. So it's just not just the system, it's people that's, for the most part, understand that the system is people. It's people. But also, my sister and brother, we're doing a whole lot to basically to destroy ourselves and to destroy the future of our young people. We're doing a whole lot to basically not helping the situation by basically expecting somebody else to help us, expecting somebody else to hire us, when we can do these have our own company and do our own hiring. I'm just saying to you is that it's mind-boggling. It really is. It's mind-boggling, and so again, I just feel that obviously, in terms of what Tyrone was saying, there is some something to it, but also, my sister and brother, I'm just telling you, is that we opened up our culinary school. We had, and I saw some of you who from this audience that was there, and I'm very grateful for you to be there, because you and wishing us well, and I appreciate that very much. And we had a little less than 300 people for the opening, the grand opening, the ribbon cutting of our new kitchen, and we got about 70 students that are starting out next month for the class, and I'm just grateful because obviously some 95% of them are African Americans, and I'm happy about that. But I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, that we got to take advantage of these opportunities. We just got to take advantage of it. I told you last week that I'm having a job fair on the 13th of April from about 9 to 3. We got all kinds of job people that basically doing hiring, companies, skill trade that will be taking people, applications for people. But I'm just saying to you is that we got to understand, yes, there is a system that's against us. Yes, there are people that really don't think much of us. Yes, but this is something that basically has been ever since we've been here. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about us as a people, ever since somehow, we broke through. And we don't give up. That we don't give up. And that somehow, we got to remind our young people you got to stay in school, and that you got to graduate, and then you got to find a niche in your life, and you may not succeed the first time, you may not succeed the second time, but whatever it is, just don't give up. Just hang in there. I'll be watching. Maybe I watch too much television, but I look at. The 48 hours. I look at for my man. I look at Fatal Attraction, and I see all of this stuff that goes on all over this country, And I mean, this is stuff that they're, I'm not talking about 10 years ago. This is stuff they talk about 3 or 4 years ago, where we're killing each other and all this kind of stuff. But also, my sisters and brothers, I'm saying to you is that we got to realize that there is something that we got to basically commit ourselves to try to help our family, help us, yourself first, your family, and then also as a nation. That we are a nation. We are a nation. And I'm just saying to you, is somehow, some kind of way, we got to understand that and really understand that we can break through all of this stuff. We can break through all of this stuff. But also African Americans who do well got to also hire African Americans so they can do well. It's amazing to me, and I've seen it. I've seen it in my lifetime. I've seen it over and over again. That when someone African American gets in a very important position, somehow, some kind of way, he or she got to feel like they have an affinity. They got they got to be justified by making sure that they hire people other than their own. And we're the only people that do that. We're the only people to do that. You go to you go to New York and you go and see who's if it's a Jewish mayor, if it's a whatever the ethnicity, whatever his you know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter. They look out for each other. They look out for each other. We're the only people that basically that we kill our own. We smother our own. We eat our own. And I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, somehow, some kind of way, we got to understand that yes, the system, the people, there are people that's against us, but there's also a lot of people that against us. That's us. That look like us. You know, I don't worry about nobody white breaking into my house or nobody white stealing my car. You know, and I should not have to have that. I should have the same feeling here in Africa with the African American in the community. It shouldn't be that way either. But obviously, we got some problems. Yes, there's poverty, all of that kind of stuff, and we got to somehow understand that we got to do what we can to try to really help those who basically can't help themselves. But there's a lot of people that can help themselves and just won't. And these are the people that I'm talking about. It's right now on top of the hour. I need to just take a second break, and I'll be right back, and I'll take the phones. I know I've been a little long-winded, but again, I felt like I needed to say that. Let me just take this break, and then we'll be right back.